Hello folks, I'm coming from the vibrant city of Bangalore, India, a booming city where modernity meets ancient tradition. Welcome to the second of the Bangalore Tale. I'm here to visit family, but I also joined the Bangalore Trekking Club for an exhilarating hike up to Gudibande Fort. During that trek, I met Tarsh Williams, corporate high flyer turned professional expedition leader. It's 5:30 Sunday morning near the northern edge of Bangalore. I'll be joining a group of people I've never met before to trek up to Gudibande Fort, which is 60 miles north of Bangalore, via a friend of my wife's aunt who's a member of the Bangalore Trekking Club. I've been introduced to the group and kindly been offered a lift and invitation to join. Tarsh, you and I met on the weekly hike of the Bangalore Trekking Group Sunday before last.
Yeah.
We hiked up to Fort Gudibande. Tell me about the Bangalore Trekking Group. How long have you been doing it, and is it open to all?
Yeah, it was started by your friend Arun a long time ago. People who are free to join if they're interested. So it's just friends and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends who come on the weekend hikes on the group with us.
You and I were chatting during the trek, and I found out that you're a very experienced mountaineer. In addition, you run your own company, but before that, you had a corporate background. Could you perhaps share a bit about your journey?
I actually grew up environment like where I am now. There were hillocks and farms and fields. And I would read Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn and go and have those adventures with friends. So adventure kind of stayed with me as a child. However, growing up and then you take on the unnecessary pressures of the world and you need to succeed and make money and whatever. I ended up doing my master's in HR management. And took on corporate jobs. Though my heart was in the outdoors all the time, I would go hiking and climbing every weekend incessantly. Okay, so I made a bunch of friends who would go on a Friday night to a Monday morning and then get back to work, and then the rest of the week we work, and then again Friday night to Monday morning. So this used to happen for years, and that's kind of when I decided that I like it better here in the outdoors. What am I doing sitting in front of the laptop, which kind of scared me, and I cannot do that for the rest of my life. Okay.
Yes.
I asked around, and the industry, the outdoor industry is very fragmented in India, and not much depth in terms of what you can do or what you can pursue. And I was pretty clear that I did not want to do outdoors as recreation, and did not want to be a guide because the monotony would kill me. But then I got lucky when I happened to go to the school called NOLS, or National Outdoor Leadership School, which if I can put this in perspective, or rather my biased opinion, I'd call this the Harvard of the outdoors. So I got lucky to be on a couple of programs on courses with them in the Himalayas and in the US. So I did a semester in the US with them, which is a 4-month long program. When I say 4 months, we were 4 months in the outdoors, which is like 120 days. So I had a beard like this big going on for me at that time. Some of the pictures are on Facebook as well. So hiking, climbing, camping, building igloos, staying in that, and climbing and skiing and a bunch of other stuff. So graduated in there, and then the world of opportunity opened up for me. I worked in Hong Kong for a bit. I worked in the US in the outdoors in camps with children for a bit. And being in the outdoors sort of opened my eyes a little bit to my own self. The challenges the outdoors offers. And how I how I get myself to work around those challenges made me reflect. And the power of reflection is something that I gained when I went into the outdoors. It moved me away from my own biases, from my own assumptions, to reflection. I worked with an organization called Pegasus, where I deepened my knowledge of reflection through a model called experiential learning. And then I worked in a bunch of other companies in the US and Hong Kong, like I told you. And then finally, it was time for me to start True Nature. That's the name of my company, True Nature Learning and Development. I'm like sort of punning on that word, true nature, where you find your own true nature when you go to nature, which is true. And when I told this to a friend of mine, and he said he's a writer, and he came up with this really nice tagline for True Nature, which is insight, outside. So when you go outside, you get insights for yourself. So I like the tagline a lot. And it's been around there for about 12 years now. So True Nature is around 12 years, no, 11 years actually. Sorry. Yeah. What happened later was I pursued more of behavioral sciences with a couple of organizations, and I brought it to work, and teams and organizations and leaders saw it a good fit, and so they subscribed to it. Some long-term clients that who've been coming year after year to True Nature are Dell, Volvo, some big names. I've also done work for Google and a bunch of other Indian large outfits like Aditya Birla. Worked with the hospitality, worked with children and schools as well. So the entry level, if you can imagine a pyramid, the base of the pyramid is where we do employee engagement programs, which is like half a day or a 1 day outdoors, or even an experiential learning game or activity, team building otherwise called. So the next step in the pyramid is the learning and development programs, where we deepen their experiences. When I say deepen the experiences, I do some activities like that of night solo and barefoot night hike without a flashlight. So I don't know if we spoke about night solo, but what I'd like to tell. All right. What happens in the activity called night solo is a bunch of individuals are taken to an outdoors environment, and all of these activities are challenged by choice for them. So we give them the activity, we front load the activity, and then they can take a call. The safety, the physical safety and the emotional safety is taken care of by True Nature. We ensure that. So during this night solo, we put them in a jungle environment where we know it is safe, and each individual is by themselves in the jungle, without a watch, without a torch, without a book, without a pen, with no accessories, just a sleeping bag and a sleeping mat, and probably a bottle of water.
Right.
Of course, we do our rounds and patrol in the night to check if they're safe and all of that. And in case they want to blow a whistle, they do that. But they haven't so far blown a whistle, knock on wood. So the experience is a big challenge. They work through their fear. They get used to their fear, and the next morning when they come, they've kept their fear aside, and then a lot of other thought and feelings which they have dwelt on is shared with. So the disabler uh, the irrational disabling fear is kept aside, and the rational enabling fear is worked with.
Yes.
And a plethora of other feelings too are expressed, and a lot of churn has happened. And then what happens is, if I'm a participant in there, my experience becomes your vicarious learning if you're a participant along with me, and then it triggers something in you. We also build bonds, and we also learn from each other, and creating these lived experiences for people gives me, drives me. I learn from that too, and what I learn from, I'd like to share, and that's pretty much what we do at True Nature. We make sure it's safe, and also we facilitate their learning after the experience by bringing in facilitative, intriguing, reflective questions to the participants. And these experiences, they go back with, and the recall of that learning is for a lot longer. And organizations have reported back saying that they have seen relatively permanent change in behaviors, and therefore a change in profit bottom lines. So the next part of the offering that we have in True Nature is what is called OD, or Organizational Development, which is pretty much, I call it experiential OD. We don't do psychometric tests, or we don't do questionnaires. Instead, we do experiences, and through these experiences, we actually collate all of these experiences, and there's a particular way in which we gather them, and we draw inferences from them, and we make it as objective as possible, and everyone is participative of the scoring. And that's the OD part. The last but not the least, which I am looking to offer, is called the Wild and Free Experience, which is the top of the pyramid at True Nature. I'm looking to, it's a 4-part program wherein it is to do with personal growth, wherein you go through experiences like that of experiential activities, then you go through night solos, then you go through rigorous behavioral labs, and then you have a 12-day hike in the Himalayas as well. It's a 1-year-long program. It's 3 days every quarter. You get through these experiences. You are also assigned a coach. You can choose to have a therapist as well. So you work through all your residues. While you're building your persona. So there's a physicality to the offering. There is an emotionality to the offering as well. While in the Himalayas, we address all of this, and then they finally come back after a year-long experience, or in different, like when I say year-long, I want to make it clear that the first quarter we have a 3-day engagement, the second quarter again a 3-day, the third quarter a 3-day different engagement, and the fourth quarter we have a 12-day Himalayan experience. So that's to talk about it in a nutshell. I think I've been talking way too much at the moment.
No, absolutely not. I mean, what's great about this is a lot of the questions I have, you're answering, so that's excellent. But that's something I hadn't realized. So the Himalayan treks really are sort of the crown on a longer trajectory, right? It's not necessarily a standalone offering the way that you're explaining it to me. It actually is a culmination of a longer, what do you call it? A longer development cycle, or pyramid, as you say.
Yes, you're right. Yes, that's the idea, right? So that we prep the people for the Himalayan experience, and and there is a certain taboo that Himalayas is so difficult, I can't go there types. Anyone can do this, and everyone can experience as much as the wonderful life that that we all can get. Yeah.
Amazing. Of course, I hadn't realized the breadth of the range of the experiences and courses that you offer. Is there perhaps a memorable story or feedback from a client, or perhaps more than one client, who experienced significant personal and or professional growth?
But if I'm having clients come back, I think nature and the outdoors does the marketing for me in that sense. So some clients have been coming to True Nature for 10 years now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So something has worked for them. Okay. And so some clients have come back to say that a bunch of things have changed in the organization, even in the top leadership. So what becomes very visible is if people are actually keying into the system that the organization is offering, or if they are out on their own and doing their own stuff while being in the organization. It becomes very visible, and there's no much debate in there as well. So because the outdoors does that in that sense. So when it becomes visible, people who aren't a great fit, who weren't a great fit for this particular organization, actually left, and that turned a lot of wheels in the organization for the organization. That's one example that I can think of. And so they repeatedly keep coming back, and I keep wondering, hey, what did I do for them to come back? Then I realized that it's more the outdoors, probably. Yeah.
How would you describe the core mission of True Nature, your company?
It feels a little bit like having a savior complex to have a mission for others. I think I'm just doing it for myself, and I'm just offering it, and it's like this great find that I've had, and I'm just putting it out there, and if people like it, they can come by too. The feeling I get while working at True Nature is like this little child who is digging up something by the riverbank and finds a seashell or something like that, or a shell, and then goes and shows it to his friend and says, hey, there's so much more, can you go? And then all the friends come in there and they also get those shells. So that's the kind of feeling I have in working at True Nature. So I just want to have people find their own shells. So while in the outdoors, one gets to gets in touch with their real self. So they know they get to awaken their real self. They get to awaken their senses. So that's awareness. And when they become aware and they acknowledge their capabilities and what they are not capable of, that's when they start to work on, hey, this is my goal and this is my potential currently. So, and this is where I have to get to. So can I start moving towards it?
Thank you for that. Well, as you mentioned, it's getting dark where you are. We'll wind it down here. Thank you so much, Tarsh. Yeah. This is amazing. Thanks very much for this. We lost connection with Tarsh in the end. Find the link to his outdoor business in the video description. Hard Routine Forge Strength Venture Beyond is a new YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun doing, and I'm committed to keeping at it for years and years to come. It's a selection of videos and themes as I settle in, but what they all have in common is that they're about physical and mental fitness, being active outdoors, and of course adventure. Support me by liking and subscribing. As always, see you in the hills.